Welcome. I'm Desiree Dubois, founder of An Empowered Woman and Let's Talk Success. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Pat Lynch, who is the founder of Women. Good afternoon, Pat. How are you doing today?
Hi, Desiree. I'm doing great, and thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, you have been very, very busy. What does Women stand for? What does the acronym stand for?
It stands for Women's Online Media and Education Network.
And so you have
So,
quite a few different programs under that.
yes, we do. So, we started with Women's Radio because our original mission has been to give women a larger voice. Women and other people, too, who don't currently have a large voice, but largely women. I think it's the time for women. And so Women's Radio was born, and then in order to give people a tool to be able to record audio and also video, we created AudioAcrobat. And now that tool is used by people in over 150 countries.
Wow.
So it's the tail that's wagging the dog at this point.
Well, we've used it, and it's a great program. It's a great program. And you also have the radio, the Women's Radio.
Right. Now, besides Women's Radio, we set up a number of other streaming sites. By the way, Desiree, did you realize that Women's Radio was the first site to stream for women? And
No.
we started way back, well, altogether over 17 years ago. Can you believe that?
No, it's been around that long. Oh my goodness.
Right, we're old people, and
Wow.
when we started,
You're trailblazers.
when we started, it was us basically, and Women's Wire. Do you remember Women's Wire?
No, I
No.
never heard of them.
And they became women.com, and that was absorbed by iVillage. So Women's Wire was the only BBS, a bulletin board service. And we were able to stream because Microsoft gave us streaming credits. So we actually began, and we used those and gave them to other women to be able to stream with Women's Radio, and that's how Women's Radio actually got started.
That's fantastic. So over the years, you have all different types of programs. The Women's Radio, they've talked about different programs, and they had different subjects, and they've reached, you said, over 150 countries. Is that correct?
Right. Well, we have users of AudioAcrobat, our tool, in over 150 countries. And to tell you the truth, Women's Radio actually is listened to in a number of different countries. It is, it is primarily in English and is used largely in English-speaking countries, most especially the United States. So when people say, well, where is your audience? It's largely in the large cities. And we actually ended up getting exactly the audience we set out for because we did not want to be all things to all women. So we chose as our marketing goal to reach women who were 40 to 65 plus, who had high demographics. They were largely going to be owning their own business or be an executive in a major corporation or leading like not-for-profits, governmental agencies, and educational institutions. And oh, guess what? That's exactly what we have. And so the old phrase that content is, I like to say content is queen. It draws the audience. So whatever the content is that you put out, that's exactly the audience who's going to be, that you're going to get, because that's who you're going to attract. And we were real lucky to be able to do some research and gain some research that was done by a wonderful gentleman, Paul Ray. He's actually the person that created the term the cultural creatives. So we probably have one of the largest audience of the women cultural creatives in America. And they're, they're your kind of people. Most of them are entrepreneurs.
That's true. That's very true. And that's been our passion for all these years. Over 8 years we've been working with women professionals and entrepreneurs. And we're really excited because January the 1st we'll be launching our mobile magazine. We're taking our Let's Talk Success show that we previously have done as telecalls and classes and live events and interview style shows. And now we're changing it to more of the lifestyles of the rich and famous style, where we'll actually be walking through their homes or their offices or their favorite places as they share their stories, challenges, victories, and secrets to success. Because, you know, Pat, like you in media, it's really important to get more positive images out there. And we realize that on YouTube and it's reality TV, there's more than the Kardashians and the wives, the housewives. There's a lot of women doing major, wonderful things that can educate and that can motivate and, you know, create community. And that's what our mission is. And now that we can utilize the mobile magazine, there'll be no limits as to how far we can reach, because people can just simply, for just a click away, being able to spread it all over worldwide. And we're outreaching to influencers like you throughout the world that will be able to share this message with everybody. But when we speak of successful women, you've been quite a success. What are some of the traits or characteristics that you think a woman needs to have, or you've seen in women that are successful?
I think the characteristics are the same for men and women. Especially for women, I think that now there are far more role models than there were when we were coming along, when I was a young woman. But I had a few, and it really helped me out a lot. You're probably too young to remember, but Mary Wells was like the golden girl of advertising. She had an agency. She was her agency was the agency that painted all the Braniff Airlines different colors, and everybody thought it was so amazing. And it was, she was my hero, because I started at the age of 25 by beginning an agency in Atlanta. I was the first woman to do that alone. And I guess that you have to have that inner drive or inner desire to do something like that, because it is scary to go out on your own. It is. And I think for me, not doing it was scarier almost than doing it. So I said, well, I'll be better off. What's the worst that can happen is I would fail, and then at least I'll get a better job. So I might as well try and do this thing, because I could see that just going along the same track would produce basically the same results. And a lot of women who started their own companies have had the same experience. But now there's so many wonderful role models, you just can find them everywhere. And I think that it does take a certain amount of belief in yourself. I would say self-confidence, and maybe that's true, but and I think it takes having a bigger vision. It's sometimes difficult for us all to take the extra steps that are needed to do the bigger thing, because we don't feel worthy or whatever other little reason holds us back. But if we can see a bigger mission for doing the work that needs to be done, we're willing to do almost anything. And I think that for me, I was lucky. I got kind of, in a sense, pushed from the inside to go ahead and begin early. But when I started Women's Radio, it really seemed like it was way too big for me to make a dent, and way too difficult. And if I didn't feel like I was really asked or called from the inside to take that step, I don't think I would have done it. But because I did, and I didn't think I was the most qualified person either. I wasn't the most qualified person. There were plenty of women that were more qualified than I was to do it. I do think one of the differences is I was willing. And so I think willingness to be of service, willingness to listen to that little voice on the inside and agree, I'll try, I'll take the steps, is really, really important. Now, there are lots of other, I would call them values, that I think are pretty important to keep it moving along. It takes a lot of energy to get things started, way more energy than keeping things moving. But sometimes people are good starters, but then they kind of get discouraged along the way, or they get bogged down with too many details, or whatever. And I understand, because that happens to me too. But I think that persistence is everything. And so I read that some ancient wonderful person said persistence was 90% of success or everything. I think that's really true. I think being able to put one foot in front of the other, whether you're feeling good that day or not, or you have all the self-confidence and the buzz on the inside that you need to, but that desire to reach that goal and keep on trucking no matter what is the most powerful thing that anyone can do.
I think you're absolutely right, because especially to the storms, they say that entrepreneurship is a journey. Sometimes there's a high, sometimes there's a real lows, and many times you don't have the champions behind you pushing you up those, up from those lows. So it just has to be you, that has to, pull you up and be able to get back on it again, especially when you are surrounded with no, or you can't, or, why don't you go back to get a job and so forth. So it takes a certain personality, it takes a certain characteristic, and it definitely takes the determination and the perseverance, and then it can be done. It can be done. So, what are some of the things that you would recommend for women that are launching their businesses or just trying to take it to the next level of success?
Well, considering I've talked to some amazing women who got their food business, for instance, started way in the Midwest. There were no other women's groups around. They didn't get support from anybody. They just did it. They learned the hard way, so to speak. And then I met them. I remember this one woman in particular that I met at the Natural Products Expo. And I said, well, did you join WeBank, which is the organization that certifies a women-owned business? No, she'd never heard of that. Do you have any other women's groups in your area? No. And I said, well, how in the world did you do this alone? She said, I just got in there and I just felt strongly about this product and I got it done. I said, well, here's here's the list, so to speak. I really do think that there at least are a certain number of organizations and services that we should all take advantage of. SCORE is one of those. If you have an SBA office, any place where you can go to it, go and learn all you can learn. They usually have free classes, a lot of free classes. I don't think they're doing any online yet, but they ought to. And they draw wonderful people who basically give of their time to get this done. So there are a number of different services depending on what your area is. And most of us did not take Marketing 101 in either high school or college. But most of us really didn't grow up thinking that marketing could possibly be very important. Marketing is really important. Marketing includes research, by the way. I think that everyone, before they begin anything, should do all the research humanly possible. Now, Desiree, I told you we're beginning a new company, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's called Dedicated to You, and it's like 180 degrees different from the broadcasting field, and it's going to be in food manufacturing. So we are proposing to begin the first allergy-free co-packing, in other words, where you pack food for other people, co-packing facility in America, along with, this is very long, but it's called Sustainable Sand Hydroponics. And we're using a patented system, so we can grow things bigger, faster, better, not hurt the earth in any way, use 80% less water, and deliver better tasting and better produce than in any other way. So we're very, very excited, and that's launching even as we speak. We're doing.
Well, I don't know how you do it, but you're truly an empowered woman. Some of the things that you're a
driven woman.
You are the perfect empowered woman. So I do want to thank you so much, Sora, for doing what you do and supporting women in the way that you have, and also sharing your time and expertise with us today. So in closing, what empowered thoughts would you like to leave our listeners with?
I think what I said before, I think if you have belief in your own project, if you see it serving a larger group of people and you really feel like you can be of service, and so you have a bigger why about why you're doing what you're doing. And if you line up your ducks, so to speak, and you get the right resources behind you, and then you take good action to put it out, let people know all the things that you're doing now for your new magazine, and you are persistent, that you will definitely contribute in the world. What you do will be of great service. So I encourage that.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I want to thank our listeners today. And if you have more information, they can feel free to contact you. How can they contact you?
Always through our site. The Women's Radio site is very easy, womensradio.com. We also produce WomensCalendarorg, and people can put their events up there for free, and you can put all your events, Desiree, hope you will. And then, of course, and there's contact information at all of those. So if you want to write me directly, it would be pat@women, WOMEN -corp, CORP.com, or through the websites.
Great. Well, thank you again, and I want to thank our listeners. And if they need more information about us, feel free to contact us at anempoweredwoman.com. That's ANEMPOWEREDWOMAN.com. And until we meet again, stay empowered.